Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke is made possible by our guests and tax-deductible donations from friends and listeners like you. Join us in empowering stroke survivors with stories of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope at www.beyondstillness.org.
This week on Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke, Guest Roz Himes offers her story entitled My Encore Life. She shares about the ways she prepared herself to return to work as a special education teacher. She offers tips of overcoming fear and preparing for life outside the home. She urges others to find creative ways to continue to live their own passion and purpose. Thank you for joining us for part 2, Roz Himes' interview. Hello and welcome to Beyond Stillness. Stroke offers a powerful, life-changing shift in perspective. Each colorful memory creates a parable for life's greater teachings, a compass for journeys ahead, and inspired wisdom for unique growth. This radio show, Beyond Stillness, offers an hour of pause for storytelling and reflection. Ultimately, Beyond Stillness is a welcoming environment that reveres the moment beyond stroke's paralysis. Still moments unite humanity and divinity. I'm your host, Molly Bucola. Today's guest is a stroke warrior. She wears many hats as a military spouse, mother, bonus mom, and duck keeper. She's a CPR survivor, registered behavior technician, special education teacher, RV owner, and one half of the Roz and Clay Show. Today, we welcome Roz Himes. Her story is entitled, My Encore Life. But before we begin today, we'll take a moment of pause. As stroke survivors, or stroke warriors, as some call us, we undoubtedly experience obstacles. These obstacles can be daunting. Today, we think about the obstacles we have overcome to this point in our recovery. We acknowledge the preparation, the persistence, and the problem solving we've used to address our difficulties. We are thankful for these characteristics within ourselves that have helped us overcome, and we are thankful for those in our lives who have supported us throughout the process. We're thankful for our friends, family, caregivers, therapists, doctors, support groups, all the people who have helped us overcome our own doubt, fears, while pushing through, towards, over, around our perceived obstacles. At this point, we also ask for the strength and courage to share our gifts, our talents, time, and experiences to help those facing their own obstacles in recovery. May they too overcome and grow through grace. Roz, thank you for sharing your story. You mentioned fear as an obstacle for returning to work. It sounds like you prepared in various ways to overcome those obstacles. Please tell us about 2 or 3 other obstacles you addressed in order to return to the classroom. How did you address each?
Okay, well, since the stroke, I don't drive anymore. So how am I going to get to the school? So transportation was another obstacle that I had to figure out. I take public transportation to get to my therapy sessions while my caregiver is at work. It just so happened that in this window, Clay was taking time off from work, so he was able to take me to the classroom just that one particular day. And then because transportation, that didn't work out. They would have to pick me up at 5 a.m. I would have to ride 2.5 hours before I got to the school. So that was out of the question. The other thing I really had to work on is stroke fatigue. I had to build up my stamina, but from day one, every therapist knew that my goal was to try to get back to the classroom. So we would talk every week, my current therapist, we would talk every week and talk about how to build up my stamina. So I would set alarms and practice being awake and active during school hours. So even though the school job was not anywhere in sight, I've been practicing the stamina because we all have that stroke fatigue.
Yeah, and the body clock and everything. That's great that you were able to practice that timing.
And it worked out well. When Clay said, I'll just take you this job. I said, okay, we got in. So it worked out, but it was months and years of planning.
Okay. Wow. A lot of preparation went into that, Roz.
Absolutely.
So at the end of your story, you shared the importance of connecting with the stroke community. One way you've done that is by sharing your story. I hear that you're in a book called Say Yes to Life. And for those who haven't heard of the book, please give us a little overview, a preview of your chapter.
Okay, so the book was an Amazon bestseller.
Wow.
And it's Just Say Yes to Life. And the whole book is all stroke warrior stories. So an overview of my chapter, which is called Roz, it mentions, it describes how I learned to have grit as a child. Learning to have grit as a child prepared me to have relentless pursuit of recovery. I believe storytelling to be equal and just as important in stroke recovery. More specifically, in the emotional journey in recovery, to rebuild my identity and a rewarding life.
It's interesting how we can take our strengths and things that we've built up, characteristics that we've built throughout our lives, and after we suffer a stroke, we're then able to apply those uniquely because we're all unique individuals, apply those to our recovery process. So I'd love to read more about that in your chapter.
Because those are brain pathways. You have different brain pathways and strengths. And so all we're doing after the stroke, then we're reconnecting to those brain pathways.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Why was the process of contributing to that book impactful for you?
Well, that was impactful because I realized that my telling my story was going to help others that were in the same, that had a stroke also, because it was such a dark time that my family found us in that we didn't know how to navigate it. So I realized that if I could share my story, that others who are in the same situation could at least have more tools than I had. If I could save someone else from the pain, I mean, these are families on the line here, then I'll share and I'll talk as many times as it takes to reach that one.
And you're doing that again. Ralph contacted me and said that you had emailed him because you wanted to share your story here on this podcast and radio show. So this is a whole nother way that you're sharing your story in order to connect with people. Well done, Roz. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And another way, man, you're connecting all over the place. Another way that you connect with the stroke community is your daily radio show. You have a daily radio show with Clay, your husband and caregiver, on Stroke Warrior Radio. Tell us a little bit about that show.
The Stroke Warrior, it's like a reality show highlighting the good, the bad, and the ugly of post-stroke life. We share our experiences in facing fears, challenges, and successes, because success can be just as scary as failure, because it's still change and people don't recognize that. So basically, it's a day in the life of a stroke warrior is how it started out.
Huh. And it's the Roz and Clay show. So how does it work between the two of you?
Okay, so Clay's my caregiver. So sometimes our host, Ralph, has questions. And whenever he asks a question, he realized we have my perspective as the stroke warrior and then the caregiver's perspective, which is Clay. And that's been huge. And then sometimes he'll just ask Clay as a caregiver, what's his perspective? And we enjoy that because caregivers need support. Oh my goodness. They need just as much support as we do because they're taking on so much.
That's so true. I think about that a lot. I facilitate the caregiver support group for Stroke Awareness Oregon. And it's interesting. You talk about how caregivers need support. There's a lot of focus on the stroke warrior, the stroke survivor, understandably so, right? But there's a lot going on internally and externally with the caregiver. So the way that you go about giving us an idea of a day in the life, I think that that's a great idea for all of us, because a day in the life of a stroke survivor is also a day in the life of a caregiver a lot of the times. And that relationship is complicated.
It is. Absolutely, Molly. And we have to learn, it's symbiotic. I mean, we could say day in the life of a stroke warrior and a caregiver. That's true. Because you're right. Absolutely right.
Yeah. Actually, I was wondering, you mentioned your husband and caregiver, Clay, a few times in your story. And marriage and caregiving are two very difficult types of relationships. Marriage in itself, caregiving in itself. And a lot of our partners or our families find themselves as caregivers all of a sudden, just like us as stroke survivors find our life extremely altered. Can you share a few ways that you try to enhance and support and nurture your relationship with Clay, and maybe how he tries to enhance it with you?
Absolutely. So Clay as a caregiver, we enhance that relationship as caregiving with collaboration. I mean, it's not just Clay doing everything, right? Because we have two people in the household, and then all of a sudden I can't work, I can't drive, I can't do my half that we agreed to when we got married. So we still work on that collaboration. He's come to every therapy appointment and medical appointment. And even the therapists at LSU, they all comment, because I asked when I called them, I asked, and Clay asked, hey, can my caregiver husband come in? And they're always surprised. They're like, oh, we haven't had that question before. And,
really?
And they were like, yeah, they were really surprised. And we said yes. And they really enjoyed that Clay got into it so we can extend my therapy exercises at home. And they thought that was huge. We also learned that from UT Southwestern, how important that was for that caregiver to be in there. Of course, we had to sign a lot of HIPAA paperwork and everything, but he's on my medical documents, right? So with collaboration, but the number one, Molly, for us, along with that collaboration, is humor. we joke, we play brain games. I mean, we played brain games. It's called family time, but there's always humor. And we had that before. I mean, we met at a comedy club. We won't go there, but we met at a comedy club. So that's been a huge part of us staying together, because you know what, Molly, if you're not laughing, you're crying. And we did a lot of crying at the beginning. And now that's what Ralph says. We just have a lot of fun on the show.
I love it. Yeah. It's important to be able to share the range of emotions. And each of us individually have a range of emotions, but then also to be able to communicate that and experience those emotions together. You figure out a situation where both of you can invite humor, right?
Absolutely.
You can share that experience together. It sounds like game night. I know a lot of families have game night together where they pull out board games, but in a way, games can be really good for the brain to rebuild. So I'm glad that you found that type of exercise fun.
Absolutely. I actually learned that at UT Southwestern. It was called social therapy, and I had to go every day. And they literally, if I said no, they literally would just come and escort me out of my hospital room, and I'd have to sit. And they didn't know that I love games. I love all board games. And then that's where I learned that, hey, these are brain games. I also implemented that in my classroom with the kids, because that's a different processing than video games or any technology.
Yeah.
You know, you've got tactile, and I met a lot of friends that way too, but absolutely. And that's where, I mean, if we get frustrated, we literally play a game called Boomo, and it's about blowing each other up through cards. And that really, we learned that distracts us from any, and then in the meantime, we're laughing, and then we forget what we were frustrated about.
It diffuses the situation.
Yes, pun intended.
Yeah. It does. Yeah. I have a good friend that anytime things get heightened, there's a heightened tension, he always diffuses it with like the perfect amount of humor. It's like when you're playing with a little kid and you're like, "Will you just clean your room?" And then they do something that's cute and funny, and you're like, okay, I'm going over the top here. Will you please clean your room? And I love how you're a goofy little kid.
Exactly right. And here's the deal with that, Molly, is I just got my emotions back this last year. 2 years ago, I didn't have appropriate emotions. So laughing, I was joking in the ICU, and that's where I learned that actually humor is a sign of intelligence. It's a sign of high IQ. I didn't know that. And once I started joking with the doctors, they just looked at Clay and they said, she's going to be just fine. And I didn't know, like I was suspicious. And I was like, what are they talking about? And then later I realized that.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. So can we go back to your relationship with Clay again? What are a couple things that you admire about Clay? I know that sometimes when we're in tough situations with caregivers, we have to remember why we love them, right? What are some things that you admire about Clay?
Okay. Well, from a husband perspective, I admire that he's a military man. I mean, he's been in the military 30 years, so he's very loyal to his mission. I'm a mission. My recovery is a mission. You see what I'm saying? He makes me laugh. We just talked about that. He's a churchgoer, and he's still willing to adventure with me. And that's a huge thing, because you know, I look different. I can't go hiking. I mean, all these things we had in common. But he's still willing to modify. We collaborate and we modify the hiking,
Yeah.
and he accommodates that. As a caregiver, I mean, he's my chef, he's my butler, he's my chauffeur, and he introduces himself as my equipment manager.
Like you're a rock star, Roz. I love it.
I feel like
Yeah, sometimes it's a good thing to remember the things that we have in common too. A lot of the things that you said you admire about him are your own interests as well. And finding that commonality again, remembering the commonality can help strengthen that relationship. What's your advice for people who are trying to navigate the spouse caregiver relationship? What are some healthy practices?
Okay. So I briefly mentioned to modify the pre-stroke activities that you both enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Like watching movies. What does that look like? So you're not going to a movie theater. How can you do that together?
Mm-hmm.
Preparing dinner together. Not just eating together. I mean, that's still important, eat together. But I mean, like all the prepping. Going shopping together for dinner. I mean, you're accomplishing, this is important, Molly, you're accomplishing the same task, you're just doing it in steps and modifying it and chunking it so both people are still comfortable. I mean, I can't go into a store without a lot of modifications, so it just takes longer now. But you know what? We have those safety measures in, so we can do it together.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really important.
That's interesting because your whole story was about overcoming the obstacle of going back to work. And you're saying that these daily tasks are important to do together too. And they're obstacles. There are a lot of modifications. There's a lot of preparation and persistence and brainstorming. How do we get around this to make sure that we can grocery shop together or prepare our meal together? It's not going to look like what it did before the stroke, but we can be creative and figure out ways to continue doing those activities together.
And that's important because as a stroke patient, I mean, I didn't want to leave the house. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to go anywhere. And really, all my therapies, I mean, I had to go out to therapy, and that's why it was important for Clay to go with me and make sure that the therapy clinic knew about my modifications and accommodations. And because it's more than what I require, more than the standard typical care that they're used to. Uh-huh. So they really appreciated that. I had to learn how to get into the car, in and out of the car. Mm-hmm. And there's no therapist there to show me that. So again, it goes back to that collaboration, but it still do the same things. That's the important thing. Just keep doing what you did before. Just like you said, it just takes planning. So what, it takes longer. You're still doing it together.
Yeah.
And that's important for that relationship, remember, because love equals time.
Yeah, I love that part of your story. TIME. And devoting your TIME on earth to other people. So going back to your story, I'm looking back on your experience. What advice do you have for people who would like to return to work after suffering a stroke? You told your story. Do you have any other advice about people returning to work?
Yes, absolutely. Because I know in my story, it just makes it sound like I just did it in one day. But it started with a game plan. Come up with a game plan with your medical team. Let them know your intentions, and that includes your therapist, all the people. And then after you come up with a game plan way in advance, then you discuss it with your family. And your family, everyone on your team, if that's friends, family, neighbors, they all need to be on the same page. And by this time, you should be asking for help. So all of that is come up with a game plan, come up with a plan, and then you're just every day. Like you said, Molly, every day. That's how you build your stamina. I mean, don't panic. As stroke warriors, we keep thinking that we can do what we did before only because those are brain pathways. Well, again, you can. It just looks different. So you're embracing that. And you need to, with your caregiver and your medical team, they'll help you really stay in the present and what's reality for you and how can we do this. But that's definitely doable. And again, I know so many people that have gotten to work right away. And again, people drive. I don't. So that was different for me. So as long as you come up with a game plan together with everyone, then you can implement it. And it doesn't happen overnight. I mean, I'm 6 years post-stroke. It took 6 years. And that's okay, because that's what we have is time.
Time. Is that how you spell? Wait, Love. Is that how you spell time too?
Yes.
That's a lot of time. It also, Roz, you've mentioned a lot of different people and programs in this interview. You mentioned programs, therapy programs. You mentioned public transportation, the people that probably help you on public transportation. You mentioned a lot of different people. Can you name a few influential people or mentors that have helped you in these years that followed the stroke?
Wow, because it's everyone on my team. And, like my team looks different, but it's still therapists and doctors, right? Transportation, for instance, my driver, he just called me this morning. I have 10 different drivers. And one of my favorite drivers, he called me this morning to check on me because he hasn't seen me. Oh. I mean, you see how they're invested. I mean, it's all about nurturing those relationships, but there are two at the beginning who I still are still influential. I mean, every day still. So of course, my first one is Lanae Hunter, who's my madre. She's my second mom. I grew up with her daughter, and she had a stroke in 2014. When I had a stroke, now we live in different states. When she learned that I had a stroke in 2017, she called me. And she said, Rosie, this is what you have to do. Gabapentin, Botox. And she laid it all out. Well, she's speaking from the mother position to me. So I really connected with that. And we did everything. Again, Clay and I didn't know anyone, and we did everything. She's the one who founded Stroke Awareness Oregon. She gave us a game plan. And one of the first care packages, because I am still her daughter, one of the first care packages she sent me had My Stroke of Insight, a book by Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor.
Yeah.
I read that, Molly, from front to back. So good. And she's a neuroscientist, and she went through a stroke. And I'm very much an experiential learner. So if someone went through it, then to me, they have greater knowledge and experience than someone who read about it. Mm-hmm. So I still employ her 90-second rule. I mean, I still refer back to that because she's a neuroscientist, so she knows more about the brain than anyone I know.
And what's the 90-second rule?
Oh, my goodness. So it takes 90 seconds for your emotions to cycle chemically through your body. Mm-hmm. So let's say Clay says something that's upsetting to me. I count 90 seconds before I respond.
Oh, that's so good.
Because that literally can be a brain trigger or stroke trigger. Yeah. But that's for anyone at any time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And did you say there was one other influential person that has been a mentor for you or helped you throughout these years?
It's really my neurologist, Dr. Harris. She has been, I mean, she's never said that I was crazy. When I said, I want to go back to the classroom, she says, okay, how are we going to do this? I mean, she's the one that helps me come up with a game plan, and I trust her with everything. She talks to Clay, even though technically, right, she's my doctor. She talks to Clay as a caregiver, and she encourages us. She said, during traumatic events, that either separates people or brings them together. And it takes a lot of work to stay together. So Dr. Harris, I mean, she is in another state. We're in Arkansas. She's in Louisiana, and we travel every 3 months for Botox. And she told us, she said, I would still love to be your neurologist, even though you're moving out of state. I mean, who does that?
Yeah.
Who does that? But she's incredible.
I love that. I love that. Roz, thank you so much for taking time today and throughout the past 5 weeks or so that we've been meeting in order to prepare your story. It's really been a blessing to me to be able to hear your story and the ways that you navigate your obstacles. So thank you for meeting with me over the months and for sharing with us.
Absolutely, Molly. It's been my pleasure.
Yeah, I love it. So before we close today, let us take a moment. Let us take a moment to call to mind the people. Roz mentioned many different people that have helped her throughout her recovery process. Let us send those people thoughts of gratitude and hold them in our hearts. We're thankful for the extra TIME. Help us share our time in loving ways. Help us be patient with one another. Help us see the world as a wonderful world as we overcome our hardships. May we share our strengths and our talents with other people and know that we have purpose in this world. Today, we offer our thanks. Thank you for devoting time and space to listen to Part 2, Roz Himes' interview. For the full story, please listen to Part 1, Roz Himes' story. Each colorful memory creates a parable for life's greater teachings, a compass for journeys ahead, and inspired wisdom for unique growth. In this episode of Beyond Stillness, guest Roz Himes offered her story entitled My Encore Life. She shared about ways she prepared herself to return to work as a special education teacher. She offered tips for overcoming fear and preparing for life outside the house. She urged others to find creative ways to continue to live their own passion and purpose. If you enjoyed this moment of pause for storytelling and reflection, please like, share, or subscribe to the Beyond Stillness Stories After Stroke podcast. Again, thanks for listening. And remember, as part of the stroke community, you are more than supportive. You are inspirational.
If you are part of the stroke community and have a story you'd like to share on the show, please contact us. Email molly@beyondstillness.org.
Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke is made possible by our guests and tax-deductible donations from friends and listeners like you. Join us in empowering stroke survivors with stories of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope at www.beyondstillness.org. Another way to support is to like, share, or subscribe to our weekly show. Again, thank you for devoting time and space for this week's episode of Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke.